first generation Mazda Miata, known as the NA to the Concetti, strikes a great blend between vintage feel and modern dependability, and collectors have taken note. Early Miatas, like this one, featured a 116 horsepower 1.6 liter 4 that revs happily to 7,000 revolutions per minute, aka RPMs, redline, which is excellent because the torque peak of 100 pound-feet occurs at 5,500 RPMs. I own and drive this 1990 Mazda Miata. I daylied it for a little while until it got too cold, but never to school because I don't have a parking permit on it. If you want to learn how to drive a manual, Miatas are an amazing beginner choice. They are not fast, they have a nice flick of the wrist shifter, and easy to find cheap and reliable parts. How to start the car, starting moving, shifting gears, upshifting and downshifting, and stopping the car on a hill or on a flat surface are just the key points that are going to be talked about in this video. When I was 14, I got my driver's permit in Kansas and started learning how to drive an automatic car. By the time I got into a manual car, I was looked at funny for not knowing how to start the car. Obviously, automatic cars and manual cars are very different, but the one key thing that is different, the starting point, is to start the car. So whenever you're starting, you want to put your foot on the brake and you want to put your foot fully on the clutch. Putting your foot fully on the clutch to start the car engages the starter, which automatic cars are able to do, but not manual cars. At this point, you can turn your car on and get started to drive. Now that you have your foot on the clutch, your foot on the brake, your emergency brake up, and your shifter in neutral, you can go ahead and start putting the car ready to go. Since it's nighttime, we want to put on the headlights. In the 1990 Mazda Miata, you switch these two, one, and then once more for the headlights up front. Now you can start putting your shifter in the first gear. Once that happens, you can take your e-brake down and you can start driving the car. To start driving the car, you want to slowly pull your foot off the clutch until you hit the friction point. The friction point is whenever the car wants to start moving, you can feel the car start shaking and wanting to move. With no foot on the brake, but your foot on the friction pedal, you're already going to start moving. At this point, you can start putting in some gas and slowly release the clutch. Now we are starting to drive. Now, say you're on the road and you want to shift into a higher gear, or if you're on the highway, getting on the highway, and you just want to shift into a higher gear no matter what, you can put your clutch in and then shift the gear and then let go of the clutch. To practice this, you can do this in a parking lot over and over again until you finally got the feel for shifting between gears. You only want to shift gears when you're in the 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs. To downshift, you're going to want to do somewhat of the same thing, but you're going to want to add a little more gas, push in the clutch, go in the first gear, add a little more gas, give it a little blip, which is whenever you just push on the gas pedal a little bit and then off. And now we're in first gear again. Now say you're approaching a stoplight or a stop sign, or you ultimately just want to park. To do that, you want to put your foot on the brake until you reach a low enough RPM so that you don't want to stall, and then put your foot on the clutch all the way, and then press on the brakes. And now you're stopped. Say hypothetically you had stopped in fourth gear. What you want to do is you want to walk down your shifter from third to second to first, and now we're in first again. A lot of people will say you can put it in just neutral. It's either or. I like to say you can put it in first just in case some car comes right at you and you have time to move, but some people like to say you put it in neutral just in case your foot gets tired and you don't want to accidentally hit the person in front of you. Now that you have started the car, you started moving, you shifted up and down, and you have stopped the car, one tip that I would like to say is you don't ever want to have your hand close to the shifter whenever you're just driving or cruising, because you might accidentally hit it. I have a heavy shift knob, so it's a lot harder to do that, but it still can happen. And then you also don't ever want to have your foot hovering over the clutch. Anyways, now that we're stopped and we're on a hill, hypothetically you're at your friend's house or you're at your house or you're just somewhere you need to park on a hill, and we're fully stopped, I can put my car into neutral. I can put my e-brake up, but you can tell that even though I have the e-brake up and I take my foot off the brake, I'm still gonna roll. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want your car to just roll and you're never gonna see your car again. So if we're facing up, we wanna put our car into first gear. So you can turn off the car so you don't accidentally stall your car, and then put it into first gear. And now when you take off your foot off the brake, you won't slide. If you're facing on a downhill, you want to do the opposite. And in a Mazda Miata, you have the first gear, you have the second gear, you have the third gear, you have the fourth gear, and you have the fifth gear, and then you have reverse right here. If you're on a downhill, you want to put it into reverse so you don't roll the other way. In this video, I covered how to start a Mazda Miata, how to start driving, how to shift up and down, how to stop on a hill and a straight flat surface.